How about a little bit of a late edition of the News4JAGs podcast? How about that? Wrap up day one action of the NFL draft. And Jaguars, they promised a bold move.
Yes.
I talked to Tony Baselli during the day, and he said fans wouldn't be disappointed. And we fast forward to this, and they traded up to number 2.
I've been a fan of the Jaguars since they came to be a franchise. I covered them for mmany years, and I've just never seen a move like we saw in the first round of the NFL draft. You trade all the way up to 2, 5 to 2, doesn't seem like a massive jump, but when you see the player they got, Travis Hunter is a generational talent. We talked about it time and again. I think we did a mock draft maybe last month sometime. We talked about the possibility of Travis Hunter coming to Jacksonville. Didn't seem real.
Right.
Had Jacksonville only lost to the Titans in Week 18 last year,
we kept talking about him sliding to 5, which was unreal.
Oh,
literally, we did the mock drafts in the chat GPT, and he slid to 5 for Alessandro, and he goes, "This is unrealistic." And but that was the kind of feeling, and for whatever reason, we never got to the point where trading up to number 2 overall seemed like something that was a possibility because it was going to cost so much. So the Jaguars traded the number 5 to the Browns. They also traded their second-round pick, the number 36, a fourth-round pick, 126, and their first-rounder next year. And they got the Browns number 2 overall, their fourth-round pick, 104, and a sixth-round selection, 200. So a little bit of an exchange of picks there. Definitely, they sent a package. You send next year's first-round pick, but we asked James Gladstone about, how he views draft picks, and he says he's very familiar with, them picks. So, look.
He was not used to making a lot of those first-rounders.
He wasn't. That's what he said. He's uniquely used to this situation. He understands it, and, when you go and get a guy, he said that Travis Hunter was worth a first-round pick as a wide receiver, and worth a first-round pick as a cornerback, and basically that's what they spent.
Right, and that's what they did. And when you look at getting a guy, and you look at the comps for Travis Hunter, there's not many of them. Charles Woodson is a good comp. 97 Heisman winner. Yeah. He had 9 interceptions as a junior, 2 receiving touchdowns. He's really probably the closest comp to what we see in Travis Hunter. You know what Charles Woodson did? Hall of Famer.
Right.
Unbelievable athlete, not only at Michigan, but in the NFL. It translated. He didn't have the mileage on him that Travis Hunter did. Travis Hunter was making 15 touchdown catches, 96 receptions, a lot of Travis Hunter wear and tear, but man, he is a generational athlete. Jacksonville has never had an athlete like this in Jacksonville. 31 years of the franchise, never an athlete like Travis Hunter.
This is a bold move. Look, they promised bold, and this was about as bold as it gets. You go and get a guy at 2 overall in Travis Hunter, you send the package. He has to be a star.
Right.
But look, as we were grading this thing, you kind of looked at it as one of the complaints that we've made, and we've talked about it on this podcast before, Justin, is they had a lot of guys.
Mm-hmm.
They had just a lot of average, but they didn't have a lot of blue chippers, a lot of star power. Like when you started listing, okay, who are the best players on the roster? We immediately go Brian Thomas Jr. after 1 year. You immediately start going to these guys and you say, okay, well
there's 53 guys on the roster.
There's 53 guys on the roster.
There's one dude.
You got to start you got to get stars and you got to get dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you do that? You can't just sit there and watch them go off the table. You got to go get those guys, and that's exactly what they did. They went to get a guy that they believe is a dude. They talked about free agency, and we kept saying it, and people were like kind of getting tired of hearing it, that the free agent class was raising the floor. Well, then they show you that they believe the draft can raise the ceiling by going and get a guy that they believe has star power.
Right, and to me, there were 2 guys in this draft, maybe 2.5, counting Abdul Carter.
Okay.
But there were 2 guys.
He's only a half? He
went 3 to the Giants, yes, and there are the health issues with him that are a little gray area.
It's not like a serious health
to me,
issue.
There were 2 guys, 2 blue chips in this draft.
Okay.
Ashton Genty, who we liked at 5, and Travis Hunter. 2 blue chips in this draft. No quarterback blue chips. There were 2 dudes in this draft. And both of those dudes scored touchdowns.
Yeah.
And that's what you need. I think Tony Baselli, when you talk to him, so we need guys that score touchdowns. We need guys that can find the end zone. And there's not enough guys on Jacksonville. 53-man roster, you got 1 dude on your team, BTJ, and he's going into a second. You need an alpha. We've always talked about in our podcast, alpha. Jaguars need an alpha. They need a leader. They need a dog, and they need somebody on the team that scares you.
Yep.
And so far, they have one of those guys, and they got another one tonight. I am concerned when I look back at first-round trades involving first-rounders next year. I look back to the Carolina deal and the Chicago deal. And Carolina wanted their quarterback of the future,
Sure.
mortgaged their future, and got Bryce Young. That pick that they sent to Chicago became the first overall pick the following year. Now, I don't think Jacksonville is in that boat. I think this trade is an A++ if that pick is somewhere in the 20s. In the 20s next year.
You. Yeah, look, I get it, and I understand why there's a little bit of a. You send out a first-round pick for next year, and there's a little bit of pause there, right? You're worried because you're like, look, especially in Jaguars history, they've never done it before.
Right.
Never done it before. So this is going to be the first time that they don't have a first-round pick, at least as of right now, unless they do something else. But I think you go and get a guy. You go and get a guy like Travis Hunter who can – I mean, he can play two positions.
Yep.
He's going to play both ways out on the football field. Like, I like it. I give the trade an A. I mean, it definitely gives you the wow factor. They added star power to the roster, and they said that one of the biggest things is this helps to define intangibly rich.
Yeah.
James Gladstone said that Travis Hunter is a guy that can walk into a room and turn the lights on even if the light switch is flipped off because he's that type of person, that type of personality. And intangibly rich was
31
one of the
years.
definitions.
You've never seen a player like this in Jacksonville, and I think 30 and
well, there haven't been many players like that in the league in the last 30 years.
So Charles Woodson came in when Jacksonville was in its third year as a franchise.
Sure.
We're talking one guy now in 31 years who has kind of fit that mold. And Charles Woodson.
Think about guys that have played on both sides of the football.
And Charles Woodson, to his, I mean, he was fantastic at Michigan. But Travis Hunter, he had 96 catches. 96 catches as a receiver. That is otherworldly.
Yeah.
And 15 touchdown catches and 4 interceptions. And what Travis Hunter can do, and yes, they gave up a lot to get it. And first rounder scares me next year. The second rounder this year kind of scares me because you needed guys, you needed bodies, 31 holes on this roster in terms of getting to that 90-man.
In order to make trades like this one, you have to feel confident that you're able to find guys on day 3, able to find guys in that undrafted free agent class. Because like even when I was talking to Tony Vaselli earlier, and he mentioned that he was going to probably have like a 20-player undrafted free agent class, and I'm like, that's a lot. Was that on purpose? And he was like, we're going to bring competition in here.
Yeah.
But they feel comfortable that like they get. I mean, think about this. Jaguars fans are kind of used to those day 3 picks for the most part being throwaways. You find nothing. The undrafted free agents, none of them come in. I mean, every so often you get 1 or 2 that make a roster. I mean, Andrew Wingard is a dime a dozen. You know, you've had an Allen Hurns along the way, but they're few and far between where they found guys on undrafted free agency that have been able to even earn a roster spot or have any sort of longevity. It hasn't been a consistent thing. These guys clearly feel like they're able to find some of those spots along the way, and they're going to bring in these undrafted free agents and feel like they're able to find those diamonds in the rough.
Right.
I mean, maybe not a guy that's going to be a star, but a guy that can be a spot starter or a depth piece along the way, and that they don't need to, like the Jaguars are used to spending 4th-round picks on guys that would never see the football field.
Right.
They're going to bank on that. They're going to draft a 4th-rounder, and in 2 years he's going to be a starter.
Yeah.
And that's where their focus clearly is, because they're looking at this and saying, all right, we're going to have to nail this process. And that's how you can mortgage those first-round picks.
And
that's what the Rams did.
6 rounders this year. You look at Gladstone in L.A., 6th rounder this year is going to have a serious chance to come in and earn playing time, not just make the roster. You're talking about a 6th rounder, 5th rounder going to be able to come in to the Jaguars this year. And I saw something a couple years ago online. I think Pete Prisco said it. Why would players not want to come to Jacksonville if you're a rookie? Because there are so many available spots on this team to come in and make an impact. And I do think that they talk about collectively and in unison and in tandem and all that kind of the buzzword they talk about.
Sure.
But I do think Tony Vaselli, I do think Liam Cohen, I do think James Gladstone and Shad Khan as well. We're all in on Travis Hunter. You are getting a generational, bluest of the blue chip kind of talent.
All right, think about this. Tank Bigsby was a 3rd-round pick. Travis Etienne was a 1st-round pick. Would you take either one of them over Kyron Williams for the Rams?
I don't think so.
He was taken in the 5th round.
Yeah, in Bucky Irving. Look at Bucky Irving. What he did last year in Tampa Bay.
I'm giving you a direct example from the process that Gladstone pulls. They went and found a guy, the 5th round. Jaguars spent a 1st-round pick and a 3rd-round pick, and you wouldn't replace either one of them with a guy they spent a 5th-round pick to get. That's what they're banking on, is that they're able to go find those guys on day 3 that are going to turn into solid starters, that are going to turn into players that you want, that they don't have to spend a 3rd-round pick on a guy that's a backup running back.
Right.
And that's how Trent was building this roster for years. He spends a 3rd-round pick on a backup running back. He spent a 3rd-round pick on Chad Muma, who was a backup linebacker the second he was drafted.
Right.
And these guys aren't doing that. They're going to spend a third-round pick on a guy they expect to be on the football field, not in 2 years, but now.
Right. And I think there are so many positions on this team available. We talk about 59 guys on the team. You go to camp with 90 guys. There are going to be veterans on this team that don't make the roster because you've got young, hungry guys coming in, and hopefully the scouting and everything pays off, and the buzzword, the North Stars, and the everything that James Gladstone has kind of referred to in the build-up and the makeup, the scouting and everything for this team. You hope they beat those veterans out. I think this team could use some infusion of talent and some draft and develop guys. And I think Jacksonville is better than a 4-13 team.
They weren't last year.
And I think that has to do with coaching and injuries.
A big part of it was coaching. But, I mean, some of it's just the players on the roster. And you don't have to look too much further than they basically said, every free agent, thank you for your service. We appreciate your time here in Jacksonville, but pack your and go on ahead and sell your house. Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty clear message of thanks, but no thanks. Like, they were fine. And fine is you win 5 or 6 games in the NFL. If you want to be good, you got to go find good players.
Right.
And the hardest thing is to when you have average, is to be able to say no to average, because if you just keep saying okay to average, then you're stuck in the same place. Like in the NFL, purgatory is 8 wins.
Right, and that's my friend Hayes Carline had always talked about the worst thing to be in the NFL back in the day when it was 16 was 8-8 or 7-9, because you're in that purgatory and
that's
chasm.
What I think about back-to-back 9-win seasons. That's where the Jaguars were, and then the wheels just came off. They just.
When you're not, we go back to the Trevor Lawrence season where he just got caught fire at the end. If you're playing like that, that's okay. When you're playing just kind of average football and plodding along.
And he had to catch fire to get to 9.
Right.
And that's the thing. They looked at it and said that's not sustainable. We can't ask this guy to do this. We have to add star power to this roster. We have to add some punch to this roster. So that's what they went and did. Now, they still have a handful of draft picks left to work with.
Yep.
And a lot of space where they can still improve this roster. I think they still have to add along the offensive line.
Yes,
still got to add on the defensive line. And I think you still got to add a safety.
Right.
So there's still room that has to be shaken out around the team, and that has to be moved about. So, I mean, they're not done. They have to add to the edge room. At some point, you got to add a third pass rusher, because it's not just Trayvon. It can't just be Josh. It has to be another guy, because what if one of them gets hurt?
Right.
I mean, they've been Ironmen for the past couple of seasons, but behind them you have nothing.
Right. You got it. I mean, you got a draft and kind of project last year. Miles Cole, can he give you anything? Does your Yasir Abdullah kind of unlock in entering year 3? I mean, you gotta hope some of these guys that are on the roster, the guys entering their 3rd and 4th seasons, can maybe take that next step, or you hit on somebody in these later rounds of the draft, which LA did. Tampa Bay did with Gladstone, so it's completely possible. And that's how you want to do it. I mean, not everybody's going to be a Brock Purdy where he's Mr. Relevant and he becomes a guy that can take you to the Super Bowl, but guys like a Telvin Smith, for God's sake, perfect example of Jack. You get him in the 5th round and he becomes a fantastic linebacker for you, signs a 2nd deal. Those are the kind of players you need, and I do think the scouting and the coaching staff and what you got can get you there.
It almost feels like the movie Draft Day. I watch it every year before the draft, and it almost feels like that. It feels like the Jaguars went into today.
Was it the Browns in that movie too?
The Browns were the main team that was moving around, and it feels like the Jaguars went in with the sticky note that said Travis Hunter no matter what. And James Gladstone went and said, all right, well, go and get the guy, no matter what. Whatever you got to do, get it done. And there's one thing that's funny about this, and I know you were concerned about mortgage in the future.
Yeah.
And the Jaguars haven't had luck with draft picks,
right,
and they haven't had luck with taking chances like this in the past. But if there's one team that has been more unfortunate,
it is definitely the Browns. Well, I see the graphic on social media today about Julio Jones, the trade, where the Browns gave up, that spot. Falcons got Julio Jones, and the Browns got a windfall from that deal. I think 4 or 5 draft picks. They were bad. So all of them just flatline.
I'm just saying, if you're going to gamble with a team that is
worse. Right.
You gamble with someone who's worse than you.
You're not trading with the Eagles or Chiefs. You're trading with the team that is probably below you in terms of doormat.
It was like when the Patriots were rolling, and every time the team was trading, why are you trading with them? Stop doing deals with these people. And you say the same thing about Kansas City now. With the Browns, you're like, I'll trust this deal. I feel pretty good about this right now.
Okay.
So you should feel
trades
pretty good.
Popping through as we're doing this.
Yeah, busy night as they kind of wrap things up. We're doing this as they kind of wrap up the draft. The Jaguars will be going into day 2 tomorrow.
Yep.
No second-round pick, a pair of third-round picks, and Travis Hunter will also be in town in the building.
Yeah, exciting. I think so many times in Jaguars history, this is 31st year of the franchise. You've swung. I mean, your first draft pick in franchise history is a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
The first one. Everyone since then has kind of been the turnstile. So you hit right in your first time.
Yeah.
I'm for what they did tonight. I still am a little skeptical of what they gave up in terms of second and first round of next year. But it's a new philosophy, new regime. I'm excited. I mean, Travis Hunter is star power.
Yeah.
You know, like when Trevor Lawrence was drafted, it was that star power coming to town. Same thing. But
and then they just got so bad so quick.
Yeah, I do think Travis Hunter is. I keep making the Charles Woodson comp. He's better than Charles Woodson was during that two-way time when he was at Michigan and won the Heisman. And that's something to be excited about.
Well,
fans got to be pumped.
We'll see how it all shakes out. We'll go ahead and wrap up this podcast. We'll have another one of these coming your way probably once the draft wraps up, as we can kind of give a full-on grade.
Exciting. You going to go to sleep at all?
Probably not at this point. I mean,
he was on the morning show today, all of it tonight. He'd be on the morning show again on Friday.
Yep, get a couple hours.
At some point, he may just bring a sleeping bag to work.
They'll catch me in the sports. Why are the lights off? Oh, yeah, that might be it. Or maybe we'll just sleep next week. We'll see if we can get it figured out. But it's been fun. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us on this News4JAGs podcast. We'll see you guys next time.